Okay, you lucky people. That was the Supercopa, again, but it was a classical. It was a hell of a game. It was worth covering twice. This content that's sent out to socios and to everybody else on Substack is the only content on Revista de la Liga that we don't reserve for socios, the paid up members who support us. Join us, please. That's my message to you. To make this service grow, to keep it continuing, if we're honest, we need you to say, yeah, I don't mind paying £3.99 a month, £3.99 a month. It's a bad pint or it's a good coffee. Or 30 quid, which will take all the content, and there's usually content every 2 days from Spain about La Liga, the Conference League, the UEFA Champions League, the Europa League, the Copa del Rey, the Super Cup, La Liga, and Spain's national team. That's a lot of content. 30 quid will take you as a socio, as a member, all the way through to middle July. So join us, please, support us. And now, on with Jornada 19 of La Liga. You're going to enjoy this. Let's go to La Liga and have a little look at what happened over the weekend, or at least some of the things that I think are important. Let's pick up Friday night. Real Sociedad got the Getafe and win 2-1. Oviedo and Real Betis draw 1-1. I want to come back to that. I was working on it. I enjoyed it. A couple of things to say. Villarreal take Alaves apart, 3-1. Girona win again. Girona beat Osasuna 1-0. Vanat, the Ukrainian, another one to come back to. Rayo Vallecano Mallorca, I worked on that with Pete Jensen. Enjoyed it very much indeed. Levante 1-1. Espanyol. It's an historic weekend in that Barca beat Madrid, but in theory, work with me now, people, they also beat Atletico Madrid because their advanced game, which they played last year, which is Jornada 19, was against Atletico Madrid. Is this the only weekend in La Liga history where Barcelona beat Atletico Madrid and Madrid in the same Jornada? Okay, listen, I'm reaching, but an interesting little detail to my mind. Let's pick up on Girona. They looked, I thought, very nearly dead and buried. There was a dismay, there was a depression around the club. There was a feeling amongst the players that none of them could keep fit, that they couldn't defend, that they couldn't rely on Gazzaniga. I'm not talking about outside analysis. The players were looking beaten down, unhappy, and almost, it's a fucking pedestrian, what the fuck's happening here? Barry Sheen, they're bastards, excuse my language, and if you know them, have a word with them. The squad looked almost as if subconsciously they'd accepted that they were relegation fodder. Michel never stopped believing. Vanat arrived, yet another Ukrainian signing to go with Sigankov and Dovbyk, both of whom, even though Dovbyk was only there for one season, have absolutely lit up this club and been so important. And Vanat is, I'm just going to say good morning to Ilsa. Recording here, Ilsa. See you later. My lovely, lovely neighbour. Fantastic woman. The key thing is now that I think that's 3 wins in 5 for Michel and Girona. Michel spoke about the problems they're having with Vanat. He said, look, I completely agree with media criticism that we need to find him more space because inside the box, love this phrase, he's a spectacular animal. He's got an incredible goal today, but we need to see him being played forward more often. I think Thomas Lemar and Unahi are the players who have this ability, and we need to give him more through balls. I like this because he's a player who, this is Michel again, Vanat is a player who beyond goals, with his running, his pressing, his sustained pressure on opposition defences, gives us so many good things, different from Stuani, different from Abel Ruiz. He's a player in whom we've got lots of confidence. They won't win safety, and now I think they're 13th. But we'll come back to that point situation in the middle and bottom of La Liga because it's extraordinary. They won't win safety by Vanat's goals alone. But what the spectacular nature of that goal, his penalty last week got them the victory at Mallorca. What that is distracting the attention away from is that there's been an intensity, a stiffening of defensive, aggressive work, pressing and tackling all over the pitch. Gazzaniga was an extraordinary Achilles heel, but with rumours of Ter Stegen moving on loan from Barcelona to Girona, which is still in the air and may well now happen because the German has to start playing. Gazzaniga's woken up, which tells you something about him, because either consciously he was smoking a cigar and just going easy peasy for me here, or subconsciously he let his standards drop. Those standards are up again, that helps. Vitor Rice is playing better. Witsel is playing at his level. He's 35 now, so let's not expect 24-year-old Brian Robson performances, but he's making a difference. So all across the pitch, because block by block they've built upwards again, there's new confidence. What else happened at the weekend that we like? Luis Castro at Levante has got now a win and a draw, and I liked what he said. This Portuguese coach talked about finishing the match, which they drew 1-1, with Morales, Carlos Espí and Eta Eyong up front. 3 forwards. Levante is a team which will fight in every match. This wasn't the worst team we've faced in the La Liga, that's true, it was Espanyol. But we wanted more, and we're all very disappointed with the result. But we have to be clear-headed and recognise that the team gave everything. Suddenly, they're scoring again. Suddenly, they're also defending better. And it's funny, I want to link this to the appearance of Luis Castro and Rino Matarazzo at Real Sociedad, in that I don't think those of us, you included, but those of us in the media here, should be resultadistas. A couple of good results, therefore the Portuguese, the American, great coaches. What's patently happened is that groups of players who have been beaten up, bruised, feeling sorry for themselves, have got a positive presence whose message has been right for the group and has got through as well. So they've been revitalised, and both of them are playing attacking football. The American at Real Sociedad is trying to get on the pitch at the same time a revitalised Taki Kubo and Oyarzabal and Bryce Mendes and Gonzalo Guedes and Carlos Soler. Now, that's pretty daring. That's front foot football. There was Castro saying 3 forwards on against Espanyol, and we're disappointed we only got the point. So I quite like that. And Matarazzo saying about Real Sociedad, who won at Getafe, technically gifted players. That's what I've inherited. Very creative players. We're a strong attacking team and have been for years. Part of the DNA here at Real Sociedad is not only attacking play, but also high pressing without it. He said possession teams in modern football, and he was not referring simply to his own side, are now finding it more and more difficult when they're man-marked, when they're pressed man-to-man. Because the demands of modern football are so intense, so repetitive, so often teams who like possession and position are playing 3 times a week, and that spark, physical, athletic or mental, is diminished. And if you man-to-man press, more mistakes will come up. So he's altering, I think, Real Sociedad from being quite possession-based to being more direct, higher pressure, and the moment it's working. I think I might want to close on a game that 2 games that are co-commentated with, if memory serves me, one with Bruno Bergerecci and certainly one with Pete Jensen. If I'm wrong, one with Phil Kitromidis. What am I talking about? Saturday was with Phil Kitromidis and the other one on Sunday was with Pete Jensen. Starting quickly, more briefly, with Rayo Vallecano. They win 2-1. But what you see very often at Friday night games, because Rayo do more than their share of Friday night games, fans, because these fans protest all the time. They protest against refereeing, they abuse opposition teams because it's a hostile place. They protest against their president because they really don't like him. But they also protest regularly to La Liga and say, stop giving us so many Friday night games. This one, sunshine, first game on a Saturday, Campo. The pitch is, the stadium is absolutely full. They're noisy. The scarves are in there all the time. And compared to the Friday night draw against Getafe, when it comes to the crucial last few minutes in this match, where they beat Mallorca 2-1, Mallorca increasingly looking anemic, a little bit bloodless. There are more technical things you can say about what type of footballers do they have, how deep is their squad. The Bee Gees sang that lovely song, How Deep Is Your Squad? But there's a lack of fight. There's a lack of garra, claw, is what the Spanish football expression is that's used all the time. I don't quite know what that is, but this bunch are not competing flat out in recent matches. That's a problem for Arasati. Look out, Jagoba. Decent man, good coach. Nonetheless, the fans, when Rayo with 10 men are under huge pressure, see them through. It's bouncy, it's noisy, it's proud, and that was a small example of 12th man. Well done, the Rayo fans. So the last one here then is the Oviedo match. Now, the league is absolutely mad. Let's start with just looking at the league table a little bit. You've got, by my notes, Rayo in 10th, who before the weekend hadn't won in 8. Yet they're in 10th with 22 points. Real Sociedad, who won once in the last 5 games, are in 11th, only 1 point behind them. Girona, who I said were looking like relegation fodder, if we're really honest, 21 points, and they're 13th. But the big thing is that between the last European qualification place, which at the moment is Freefall Athletic, with 23 points, and the first relegation place, which is Valencia, Corberán in trouble, I would say. Late equaliser for Joselu from the penalty spot, and apathy in the stands rather than protest. That's equally worrying, but it does buy him a little bit of time. Valencia in the last relegation place, or the last place before safety, with 17. So, my calculations are 7 points between the last European place and the first relegation place, is a better way to say it, in position 18. It's pretty crazy. Real Oviedo are bottom, and we're looking completely without hope, in my opinion, and still are going to go down, I think, with only 13 points. They've only lost once in 5 matches. I think the league is pretty mental, and therefore, rather than simply looking at match results, performances and declarations, a little piece of analysis to close on. First of all, I want to look at Raheem Alsan, the fullback for Oviedo. He turned New Year's Day, I think he turned 24. His experience up to now is with Recre, Rayo Majadahonda. Really, this is not a highly experienced Nigerian-born defender. But what I think I'm seeing week in, week out is an extremely astute and also significantly improving every couple of games defender. His judgment, his positioning, his athleticism. He's raw still, even at 24. I'm not saying finished article. I'm not saying when you watch him, you will have to say to somebody, hold my pint, I need to salute. But have a look at this guy, Raheem Alsan, over, let's say, the coming 4 weeks, and we'll come back to it. Because Oviedo, I think, have got a gem there. And in the latter stages of the draw against Betis, he was a defining presence in terms of interceptions, tackles, body-to-body jostling, decision-making. I like him. And finally, Cucho Hernandez. Cucho Hernandez is exactly the reason that I get so mad about Chimi Avila. Cucho Hernandez is the same perpetual puppy chasing after a tennis ball attitude. He works as if there were 2 of them on the pitch. He works as if those tinted blonde hairdos cost him thousands of euros every week, and he has to make sure of his wages in order to pay for them. But he has quality. And like Raheem, he's another one who's improving all the time. Quality of decision making, quality of finishing. There was a moment where Sibo ceded the ball to him by accident in the middle of the Oviedo pitch, and the instant Cucho gets a step forward and sees that Escandé is off his line, bosh. He does the Beckham, bounces back off the crossbar. It was spectacular, but week in, week out, for my taste, Cucho continues to improve at, I think, 27, turning 28 in April, something like that. This is a guy in whom I think Betis invested a very low transfer fee. He's not paid huge money. He came from Columbus Crew. At Watford and Getafe and Huesca, you've seen glimpses of him. But this is a gem, an underrated gem of a footballer. He'd have been on, with Pete Jensen last week, I did the 11 of my season. and Kucha would be on the bench. Very, very interesting Colombian player. So, what we have is a week of cup ties coming up, a week of the Madrid press and the Catalan press poking each other, and look out, depending on what happens in these knockout ties this week, with the draw coming, I think, on Friday, for all we know, we could have another Clásico next week. Do you want one? I think I do. See ya.